So I've had the MacBook Pro 16-inch for about a week now, and for all the controversies and the hate...
They hate us because they ain't us!
...about the heft, the notch, and some of the speeds of some of the ports that it has, I've got to say, as somebody who owns a MacBook Air M1 chip inside, just the original M1 chip, the transition has been firstly one of meh to one of I honestly don't know if I'm going to be able to go back. Now, yes, the device is heavy as the MacBook Pro 16-inch comes in at just over 2 kilos, which is almost double that of the MacBook Air. You can see that the new design is more rounded as opposed to being curved, and this makes it actually easier to hold onto, in my opinion, with the more flat edges. But of course, the larger design means that it's not as sleek as the original MacBook Airs. I mean, look how sleek and thin that is, and then you can just hold this kind of like in a pinch. Very, very easy to hold and port around. Now, of course, design is subjective, but I would say that it's not as hefty and not portable, unportable. It's a lot more portable than what people think. And I just like it. The heft, the size, it just feels like a solid brick, and it's so easy to hold just because, well, it's so much more surface area for you to grip onto. Now, honestly, for me, at 2 kilos, it's not too heavy and it's not that bad considering I just study at home and then go to work. And going a decent distance, if you have a supportive backpack, I think you'll be a-okay with it, especially the bags that have a space for the laptop to go into. Now, the bag that I use is the North Face Kaban backpack, which has lots of support. So make sure if you are commuting with a massive 16-inch MacBook Pro that you get a bag that supports your back when you're carrying it as well. Definitely need those thick straps to support this thick boy. And now if we're looking at the actual features and the attributes of the MacBook Pro 16-inch, the screen, I mean, there is literally nothing better. You're squeezing essentially a $5,000 monitor into a 16-inch screen with the ability to go to 120 Hertz adaptively, which is going to be so much better in the 16-inch screen when you can really appreciate, number one, the pixels, and number two, the quickness in movement. Now, I will say though, not a lot of apps are taking advantage of it at the moment. It just feels like I'm going at 60 frames per second because I've got an iPad Pro, the new iPhone 13 Pro as well. They both have 120 Hertz and they are much faster than this MacBook. There are instances in transitions where I notice it, but otherwise I don't think the apps have taken full advantage of it yet. Now, with the screen being so good, I have just gone to use the screen by itself, or if I have it connected to a monitor, which is there's one right here, I actually have the MacBook Pro as my main screen just because it's so much clearer than my 1080p 27-inch monitor that I have onto the side. So it's an absolute shame if you kind of buy this laptop and use it in clamshell mode because the screen is just absolutely amazing. Now, in terms of the keyboard, they have come with a new design with the black on black. Now, unfortunately, it tracks a lot of oils and fingerprints, which I personally don't like. Now, with the older MacBook Air, this wasn't too bad. I mean, you can clean it off a lot easier. It seems like when you try to clean it off with this new keyboard, it just drags the oil and fingerprints around, so you got to get like the proper wipes, and it's not as nice to look at. Now, in terms of typing feels, it does feel great. However, it's taken me a while to actually warm up to. I feel like it's a combination of the older last year's M1 devices and the chiclet style keyboards that the old Intel MacBooks had as well. There's a bit of flattening to it when you press it as opposed to the M1 devices that was a bit more kind of mushy as well. So it's kind of an in-between in regards to typing feel. But in terms of a feature set that is undisputed in terms of an upgrade, and it's a massive one, is the speakers. The speakers on this is, if I had to draw a comparison, I've got these old Bose Bluetooth speakers and they are just as good, if not better than those. With that being said though, I think we've all been asking whether to notch or not to notch. It's fair to say though that nobody wants the notch on the laptop, but it's here and it's honestly not that bad. I've never really looked up at it and it doesn't interfere with a lot of the programs that I use. And yes, the cursor does disappear when it goes behind the notch itself. Although Apple really hasn't come up with a clear solution when you've got too many icons at the top of the menu bar, I honestly can't see for the average user in many situations where that would actually occur. Now, as I mentioned before, there is an introduction also of the HDMI port and the SD card slot. Now, HDMI cord, I couldn't really care if it was, supported 8K, 4K, if it didn't, or whatever the case is, because most people who use HDMI cords, myself included, generally use it to put onto a projector, whether it's your home, whether it's your workplace, to put up a presentation or a movie. Now that's my personal use, and I mean, if you really wanted to go 4K, 8K, 120 Hertz, whatever the case may be, you can still use the USB-C to be able to put that type of output onto an external monitor. With that being said though, I will make a complaint about the SD card speed. There's been moments where I've transferred videos from the SD card over to my MacBook, and in most instances, using an adapter previously, it's actually quite quick. For some reason, in instances, this one has actually been rather slow, which has been quite disappointing because it is a pro device. Now in saying that, I would rather have the port than not have the port, so I'm still thankful that the port is there. But if we're talking about ports, the only thing, and I think this is my only gripe about the laptop, and one thing that they included was a USB-A port. Just one, just give me one. Because there's always an instance where any professional in any profession would need either a USB-A port for their laser pointer, a Logitech dongle for their external devices. Maybe they've got a Logitech keyboard or a mouse like I do, and they want the best reception possible, which means that they'd have to use the dongle. There are so many instances where that would be so much more practical, and I'd be more than happy to lose one USB-C port to make that happen as well. Now, if we're talking about efficiency and speed, here are some of the graphs. And that's all you're going to get, because I honestly couldn't care about synthetic benchmarks. There were so many videos of reviewers trying to push this poor little device, it's not really little, it's quite thick, to the limit and add benchmark. Oh wait, that benchmark didn't work. Let's add this benchmark with 3 other apps and another benchmark whilst it's doing the first benchmarking test. You know, there were so many things that they were trying to stack on just to make the fan spin. That's how good the device is already. For the average user, including myself, I mean, I edit 1080p max 4K videos, and I haven't heard the fans go on at all. Does it get warm? Yes, it does. Absolutely, it does. Do the fans go on? No. Does it get extremely hot to touch? No. When does it get warm? Normally when it's actually charging and running those programs at the same time. So if you want to know about heating, there it is. It doesn't really heat up that easily, and it'll handle most of your workflow, if not all of your workflow, quite easily for 95% of the users out there. And honestly, this has blown my expectations. I've had Final Cut, I've had Photoshop, I've had Lightroom, I've had Chrome. All of these open up, no fans, no heating, all on battery life, and I could probably edit 2 to 3 different projects before the battery decides to go flat. It's been just an absolute workhorse that I haven't had any issues with, and I'm loving, absolutely loving the lag and stutter-free experience. So that's been it, guys, a casual person's experience of the MacBook Pro 16-inch, who uploads 1080p video sometimes. Now, do I recommend this device if you've already got the MacBook Air and it does everything okay? No. If you've got extra cash and you want to burn on the side, absolutely, go ahead. But in general, the battery life has been a winner. The ability to play my League of Legends and have other things open has been a massive winner. Multiple apps running without heating, absolute banger. Been spot on with that. But yes, guys, if you have any other questions, because this has just been a rough kind of review, just a casual person's thoughts. Look, I'm not MKBHD. He's already uploaded his review on that if you want to go check that out. But yes, guys, if you have any questions, please let me know in the comment section down below. As a person who has both M1 and M1 Pro devices, let me know in the comment section. I appreciate you guys making it this far into the video. Apart from that, guys, I'll catch you guys later. Cheers.